Yeah, the whole point of it is just to feel like you're chit-chatting and
I see your dog in the background there
yep,
with his butt just showing.
she's just chilling on the couch.
Chilling, chilling.
Just chilling on the couch. But yeah, we'll just talk and
Try to stay
catch
awake.
up. Pardon?
Try to stay awake.
Try to stay awake, yes.
Oh.
I'm dead.
Have you ever got to see it before?
Yeah, I guess I've seen it, with your other podcast.
Yeah, but the other podcast had a whole different, like, what's the word I'm looking for?
"I'm dead," is
Intro.
what you used to say, and then
I'm dead does come from it, yeah, but I
when I saw the podcast with you and Maya and
Mhm,
Donnie
mhm,
and Eris, it's just
yeah,
yeah, it's
it's
been there.
there. I did it in, like, 10 minutes.
I remember you told Maya that you did some sort of technique that you did. I'm trying to remember what you said.
I don't
I can't
remember.
remember
I don't
what you
remember. I literally can't remember back that far, and that's not even that far at all.
I'm
Um,
good that you have lack of memory. I have chemo fog, but I don't know what's your excuse.
I get it from you. I get it
You
from my mama.
are
Uh,
you in those
uh.
chemo treatments with me, huh?
Yeah, it's like, you know how when a woman gets pregnant and a guy has, like, pregnancy symptoms himself?
Sympathy. Sympathy
Yeah,
memory.
yep. It might
Sympathy.
also be the exhaustion, but I'm going to blame it on sympathy chemo.
Mm,
But yes, we are here for a special episode of Basically Unbothered, and we are featuring my mommy.
mm.
I guess you have a real name. Your name is Anicia.
I notice I put it down there all nice and formal because like, when you log into meetings, it's usually not this name, and I have to change it 'cause, like, it's Fierce Divine or other things like Fierce, and I was
Yeah,
like and so
that
by
just reminded
default, I'm
me
used to it.
I need to change mine later on. I'm debating on if I should just go with Blake through everything
Mhm.
or if it should be because even on all my other podcasts is Blake. Like this is the only podcast where it's Gabby.
How you feel?
I love them both, but I don't know if it makes I don't know.
I got nothing.
I got nothing. But we are here today, as we were talking about chemo, for a special episode for Breast Cancer Awareness Month. We're at the end of Breast Cancer Awareness Month, but we are here and we are talking to my mom, Anicia, who is a breast cancer survivor. Is that the best way? What do you want to how do you want to call it?
It's an interesting topic
Mhm.
or interesting question because I remember when I first started back in February of 2024, they said as soon
Mhm.
as you get the diagnosis or whatever, you're termed a survivor. And because I have, stage 4 metastatic cancer, they then, I guess they want to enhance it or make you extra special and then make you like a thriver,
You're a super
uh,
survivor.
a super survivor, thriver. And then of course, there is the term warrior that you see a lot as well.
Mhm.
So it's I'm every woman.
I'm every
Every woman.
woman. It's only me. Well, do you want to start off by kind of talking about how you got the diagnosis, kind of what the signs were, what the beginning part of that was like for you?
Okay, I can. I know that just like every good person should, you should do your breast exams on a regular basis. So I felt an anomaly in I think November or December of 2023,
Mhm.
and I had already had some I don't know, like anomaly type stuff before in the past, and they were like cysts or whatever. So I was like, yeah, okay, whatever. So my annual appointment was in December.
Mhm.
And so I brought it to my general practitioner's attention. And she's like, Yeah, I guess we'll schedule, a mammogram at that time for it. And so I had called and, they once again, it's all casual because, my mammogram was due from my annual. And so we scheduled it for some time in January. And I
Mhm,
went off and to Sedona Beach and was it Sedona Beach? Someplace in California with Julian and just chilled. And I went to St. Thomas and I just chilled. It was at the back of my mind for sure. And I
mhm.
checked to see if it was going to go away. When did I tell you?
You told me in December.
Okay.
You told me in December that one of the reasons why you wanted to go to St. Thomas at the back end of January was you just kinda wanted to be there and just be with family and keep your mind off of it because when you got back and that's why your schedule was so tight going to St. Thomas, was because when you got back, that's when you would have to have your appointment.
You can't see the shirt all the way, but it says pink out. Can you see that now? See the
Oh,
football?
it's super cute. It's
Yeah.
super cute and super football-y, and it's
And
super pink.
it's the side says the football as well.
People are gonna think that the pink thing is gonna be related to breast cancer. I mean, and obviously this is a breast cancer outfit, but the pink thing is just 100% you.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
It has been, and in fact, I've been supporting, the breast cancer, initiative, campaigns, movements, activities
Mhm.
for a very, very long time. Hanging out with April and the likes, Race for a Cure, making strides. I've got so much of that, but pink is not just pink just for that either. Pink is
Yeah.
because that's been my color for life.
For life.
So,
I'm literally looking at a pink yoga mat that I have because pink has transformed into my life. Although I think over the years I've been a little less pink. I
mhm.
definitely was more pink in, the earlier part of my life.
So
But yeah,
we
you did
we
the
digressed there,
3-day.
didn't we?
Huh?
Yeah, I've done the 3-day and few times, and I've just done a lot, in general, but not just, of course, for breast cancer. My big advocate for a very long time has been the American Heart Association, and so 80% of all heart disease is preventable. Um, just know your numbers, and I know that our family has been impacted by that. So
Mhm.
shout out to my family, shout out to mommy, shout out to Pat, shout out to Kevin, who's probably not going to watch this, but um,
Shout
your
out to
nephew.
me.
Yeah, shout out to you. You
I
had
was the
mitral valve.
OG reason.
Yeah, yeah. You weren't the OG, actually. Kevin was the OG, but in terms of the big stuff, you've had that forever, since you were like a wee baby because you're a pediatrician, amazing
Mhm,
pediatrician,
mhm.
found that so long ago.
So what we're talking about is I have a, condition, it is called mitral valve prolapse, and I remember the way that they described it to me as a kid was that my heart just goes boom, boom, click.
Boom, boom, click.
Boom, boom, click, and my pediatrician was amazing because he heard it, um, and, every whenever I tell someone that story, they think it's amazing. They're like, "He could hear it?" I was like, "Yeah, that's how the whole diagnosis thing started, was
Maybe
that."
there's like a little teeny valve opening in the heart that is not supposed to be there.
Yes, and it's not that serious, it can get serious. Mine's pretty mild, I think. Cardio is always harder for me, I do get dizzy and nauseous just kind of randomly and sporadically, and then the fun thing is I looked it up, and even if I didn't have all the issues that I have, anxiety is actually common in mitral valve prolapse, and they actually recommend that you don't drink caffeine in it with it, having it. I was trying to find the right, like, way to say that. So it's perfect that I love tea and I gave up caffeine, although Ari gave me a taste of her she went to Starbucks, and she gave me a taste of her pecan
That is
latte,
good stuff. Mhm.
pecan oatmeal latte, and just the, like, taste of coffee. Mm. I
Coffee is a
miss
good
it.
thing. I know when, I for various reasons, like having children, I stopped drinking coffee, and I actually started just drinking caffeinated coffee again this
Mhm.
year. But all of last year when I was going through my treatments, I didn't drink coffee.
Right, because that was one of the things that the doctors said. I remember that whole I was there for that whole conversation. It was just like, "So can I have just, like, just a little cup of coffee? Just, like, once a day coffee?"
And I know that you can, but I always try to err on the safe side. I'm one of those boring, be safe kind of people sometimes.
Yeah. So, you had the appointment,
Mhm.
then your doctor says, "Oh, okay, well, let's schedule you a specific appointment." That's scheduled in January.
So
What
I
happened?
scheduled for my mammogram. So it's
Okay.
just like anybody else's mammogram. So I got scheduled for the mammogram, and I think because she had noticed the lump, they also scheduled me for an ultrasound that day
Mhm.
as well, which isn't always what you do.
Mhm.
So that day back in January, I went in for my mammogram and for the ultrasound, and I knew something was up, I would have to say. After the scheduling event, I think I had a follow-up doctor's appointment the same day, which once again is not normal, but she wanted to find out what was happening. So I went to the mammogram, I had the ultrasound, and they decided to just, the mammogram was sort of like basic, and then the ultrasound took a while,
Mhm.
and you could see that the technician, that was taking the mammogram or the ultrasound was like, "Hmm." So she decided to go further into the lymph nodes and, look around, and then she's like, "Wait a minute." And, she said that, they definitely she recognized that they were feeling, saw something. And then
Mhm.
a doctor came in, and I'm like, "Ain't no doctor coming in normal." That's not normal. And
Mhm.
she had one of those Grey Anatomy sad face type things, like all concerned.
Mhm.
Like, "Well, we do see something and we want to schedule for a biopsy, pretty quickly." Now don't know anything other than, must be concerning.
Mhm.
All prior to this, you have all of your friends going, "Oh, it's no big deal," in terms of that.
They were trying to, like it's such a weird thing because obviously cancer is a lot more prominent, but they still at the same time, you just in your mind, you just always think, like, "It can't get to me, it can't get to anybody that I
Statistically,
love and care
yeah,
about."
yeah, statistically, and it was still considered the anomaly. And I wasn't really sharing much of what I had heard with anybody. In
Mhm.
fact, I'm not even sure how many people even knew much outside of you. Um,
It was really encased between, like, you and I for a bit. I think that you kind of sent out feelers.
yeah, curiosity things, but I didn't necessarily say anything. So I went back to my primary care physician that day. And so without a doubt, whether she was intentionally doing something or not, she had communicated at that point, that they've got like a great team. And I thought, oh, from a mammogram? But that's just like from a mammogram, an ultrasound, she's talking about that they have great oncologists. And I'm thinking, okay, all right. So I'm going to settle into I have some form of cancer. But statistically, the majority of cancer, it's just the majority of cancer, 80% or more,
Mhm.
is benign or not cancer, discovery, a cyst or a
Like,
anomaly. Let's just say
tumors in
anomaly.
general.
Right. And so you read all about that, and then I'm just going to what you hear generally because of course everyone says don't Google anything.
Mhm.
And, of
Which
course I
never
did.
works.
No, of course. And so after I did that, um, I was settling into what my mind was like stage 1 type thing where, it's like lumpectomy, do I even want chemo? Because I'm just gonna be really cool. So I had the biopsy and, I have to say, th they're so nice and polite in everything that they do. It was just very comforting to have the experience itself. Just going through the process, and then things really happened pretty quickly
Mhm.
after that, in terms of, scheduling lots of appointments, and I still didn't know, like, what stage or whatever, I had, but I knew that I was going to see a surgeon, a plastic surgeon. I don't remember because you were there with me, and we were like, we had 4 appointments that day.
Yeah. I
What did
rem
we know? Did we know much? I mean, we kind of knew that I didn't have stage 1, but we didn't know what the
Right.
treatments were gonna be.
So originally it started as you have cancer in your breast and in your lymph nodes.
Mhm.
And that's kind of where it started, and we hadn't really moved forward yet. They wanted to do, I think it was like an MRI
Oh, yeah, I didn't want the
or a
MRI.
CAT scan of your body.
Yeah, they wanted the MRI, and I was like, "Nope, that's not happening."
Right,
And so they did the PET scan. So I did have a PET scan before that, the bigger appointment.
right. And so
So
then that's when we had the big appointment. I think
the big
that's the
appointment.
first one
The big the big appointment.
that was a very not fun appointment, because we went in, and I remember we went in and we're like, "Okay, so, it's breast cancers in the lymph nodes." We were talking about surgery, let's just get it out of our body and move on. And our body, I mean, like, your body. And then we go to the appointment.
I know you had this like, I bought, like, a little notepad for you to take copious notes, and,
Mhm.
we were gonna have several appointments on that day, for sure. I don't know if you knew. I knew. I knew that it was a little bit more, but I don't know how much I prepped you. Uh, I don't think I did because if I can recall your face when the doctor was talking, I think you were a little bit surprised.
Was I was really surprised. I mean, so it's because it went from when we were sitting there and talking to the doctor, it and she was amazing, but it was immediately, you have stage 4. And for those who don't understand, stage 4 is when it starts to spread to other parts of your body, and yours had spread to your liver. And I remember, like, just hearing that was just like, we were just talking about, like, "Oh, we're just gonna have the surgery," and it went from, having the surgery to, "We have to do chemo."
Yeah. The things I remember specifically in her first, because she did a good job of hitting hard first, like,
Mhm.
just knock it in, and I remember she came in and she was like, "Let me be frank, you have the stage 4." She did mention term of life. Do you remember that part?
Oh my gosh, that was because she said that, because not only did you have stage 4, but you had this very rare and difficult type of breast cancer to treat. And yeah, I remember she mentioned, like, term of life, and I think it was 6 months. It was like 6 months, maybe 2 years. And then that's when everything was like, "This isn't like," you know and I don't wanna say some little cancer as if cancer is not a big thing, but it went from, "Oh, this is something that's really serious and really scary."
Yeah, it was. It's not what you expect at all. What I appreciated is that this conversation it lasted as long as our conversation here, and we don't talk about that much because I remember her pulling in. She kind of looked at it and she pulled into me. She says, "But we have a plan to live."
Mhm. Yeah, she mentioned, she was like, "It's only spread to the liver. It's only this one spot in the liver." We She said, "Normally with this, we would tell people, you know, to prepare for, the term of life," but she's like, "I'm not doing that with you
Nope.
because I'm
Nope.
pretty sure we're gonna get all of this."
Yeah. She said, "We have a plan to live." And I think that I held on to those words. Um, we don't have a plan for that. We're creating a plan to live. And plan to do everything, within that. And I made that movement. I was going to apply for a promotion at my job. And, my mindset was going to be, I was just going to plan to live.
Mhm.
And that was my mindset moving forward was, we took that, you know, I don't even know if it was a minute that we had that time. And then everything else was just like, okay, so now what do we do next? What is the plan to live?
Right.
And we moved
Um,
forward with the plan to live.
yeah, because that appointment, it was kind of like the shell shock, situation, and, she showed us some of the images that happened, and then she started talking about things that, we were possibly gonna do and how quickly she wanted it to move because it wanted it to happen really quickly. Um, and it was, like, right around Valentine's Day.
So I started around Valentine's Day, yeah.
Yeah, because I think you had your big chemo meeting on Valentine's Day.
All of that is just like blur of dates. I knew that I was beginning around the February time frame, and
Mhm,
my mindset, and one of the things, because you came to like some of the appointments, my
mhm.
mindset was just I just had in my focus the plan to live focus thing.
Mhm.
And so she said, "Wah, wah, 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 and you're gonna get this, and wah, 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 and you're gonna have these, side effects." And I know you were writing them down and all of that kinds of stuff. And she'd give out the paper, and I'd put them in the folder,
You
and I
gave it to me.
So how are you doing?
Huh?
How are you?
It was it was really hard because I think around that time, it was also, like, I had to go to drill the next day or something crazy like that, um, or a couple days later. It was rough. I just how I am as a person, like, I'm always trying to, like, take charge or kinda take control or take care of, and I just wanted to make sure I knew every single information in case, you forgot or there was something that we had to be careful of, because, I mean, there was a lot of things that were given to us. My favorite one, though, was definitely the fight of water and being like, "You have to drink a lot of water," 'cause the water caffeine talk was in conjunction. Yeah, the water caffeine talk was in conjunction because the coffee dehydrates your body, and so I remember just taking so many notes. I'm pretty sure I might because I think I ended up taking some on my Kindle too, so I'm
Mhm,
pretty sure I still have some of those, but taking so many notes and there was so much, there was because originally when we talked to the first doctor, she was talking about doing the every 3 weeks cancer or chemo first,
mhm.
because it was very clear, it was like chemo and immunotherapy, and then when we got to talk to the chemo doctor, it was the every week chemo first for 3
He
months.
flipped it. The oncologist flipped it too, yep.
Yeah,
It was at
and
16.
so that was and it was there was a lot going on. You were also applying for ministerial school, and so then there was a lot because it was I remember I created, like, a schedule for all your appointments for me, you, and Julian to keep track of, and then in that schedule because you had to get, um, like, your iron ran you had to do blood test 2 or 3 days before you did chemo every single time you did chemo,
Oh, you
and so
remember the first iron one? And they said it was gonna be an infusion?
yeah,
I was like, "I don't want that."
I
But I
re
felt
and then you came back and you were like, "Oh, I feel so great." And then it was so funny because then eventually I ended up having to get iron infusions, and you're like, "You're gonna feel so much better," and I threw up. And you're like, "I don't know what happened. You're supposed to be feeling amazing right now." Um,
but, within the context of all of that, the beauty of, cancer is not just something that affects me, it
mhm,
so many different people, and one of the things is when you ask me, "Am I a survivor?" And I was like, "Well, I don't know," because I think all of us are warriors within this, everyone who has touched, my heart or asked or helped in any particular way have been part of the journey and have been impacted by, cancer in some way. So it's the village. We are all warriors within this. I know you set up, the conversations and text messages and group me's and everybody rallied in to decide when they were going to come in. But I have to say, it was a lot of fun for, I don't know, the first, I don't know, at least, because I was doing every week on Thursday,
Mhm.
we would have different outfits. So we would wear, and we would take the pictures and the
I still have
dog would
a lot
come
of those
by.
pictures. Dude, the
And
dog was the best ever.
that, that
So, like, the
first, that first treatment was pretty cool. I felt amazing after the first treatment.
yeah. We, cause we did for you guys to know, we did and I'll try to share some photos, we did, like, onesies at first cause we had these Fenty onesies, and so we planned to just show up in onesies. We're like, "If we're gonna go, why don't we just go comfortable? Like, we don't need to go, any other way. Let's just go like we're just chilling at home." Um, and I will say that, it was the first one was stressful for me. It was really a lot of it a lot of it was really stressful for me, and a lot of it hit really hard. I was really sad, I was really depressed and afraid, for a lot of it because you're my mom, and I've already told you and dad and Julian that we're all dying together, so you guys have to suck it up because 'cause I'm living to 120, so do with that as you will, but, you don't think about things like that, and I felt very alone. There was stuff going on in the background in my life at the same time, and it was hard, although Jessica was amazing. The
She was.
box
I've got her little bottle. I mean, like I said, it was a great community. I can't say enough about, um, just the overwhelming outpouring for you because you got to deal with a lot more of the how can I help and creating and scheduling who's gonna go you know, to my treatment with me, the biggest thing for me that was important, it was that I did not want this to be a I've seen, many doctor shows and, I wanted it to be something other than what you would see on television because that's not what you're seeing. Of course, it can be difficult, but um, it is doable.
Mhm,
And for many of us, just the knowledge that it is doable and there is faith and then there's hope and you've got to tap into your divinity and to all of those things to move forward. And part of
mhm.
that divinity is your peoples, is your peeps.
Is
You
your
were
peep
there for a good part of it, and then, Julian flew in and um he was
we
there
had
and
our own combined outfits for that.
we had comfort outfits for that one.
Those were our first comfort,
I think so, yeah.
which is silly because I'm wearing it right now.
Yeah, you sure are. Yeah,
They're my favorite ones.
but I worked for the definitely for the first 16 weeks. I worked for
Yeah.
those.
You
And
you
I was just
worked
like, "What?
you
Cancer?
were
What are you
in
talking about?"
ministerial
I'm just
school?
like, I still would taught Zumba, I was in my classes.
She was guys, she w my mom has always been a worker, which I love so much about her, but there's this funny story because they give you Benadryl just in case your body has a reaction, and they give you Benadryl every single time. This woman was, like, nodding off, about to fall asleep, and she was like, "No, I can't. I got a meeting," and fought her I don't think I ever saw a time she fell asleep and everybody around us for the most part is, like, asleep, she's just fighting her fighting her Benadryl and then miraculously gets up in time for her meeting and is just so awake, and I'm looking at her in awe because I'm like, "How did you do this? Like, this is crazy. Benadryl knocks me out clean, and you were just like Superwoman, like, "Nope, this has to get done. I got this meeting," and, you didn't want your life to stop. That was such a huge thing. I mean, it was a consideration. You talked about, "Do I go on disability for a little bit?" And you were like, "No, I don't want this to like, my life is my life, and I don't wanna stop doing it for any reason." That was something that was so important to you. I mean, there were hard periods, um, that you went through that you had to go to the hospital for about a day, which was also hilarious because we took a collective nap when I came down to see you, and then I think I ate some of your food, and
I wasn't
food was
hungry.
yeah, I would say food was probably the biggest struggle for you. You just did not have an appetite.
Yeah, which is amazing. It was such a great diet, you know? Yeah. I recovered from that, after I had the surgeries,
Mhm,
afterward. It was it was at the second part where you had what they call the red devil. That kind of
mhm,
was a challenge for me, and then as soon as I got out of the hospital, it was in June, um, and I got out of the hospital 'cause I was supposed to do the Grand Prix,
mhm.
and I had to cancel that one because I called them and said, "I can't go to that because I'm in the hospital," but the following week was the Heart Walk. We just talked earlier about that, so I was right there.
You
I was
were.
the following week at the Heart Walk, then the week after that, I went to, ministerial school in Kansas, and then the week after that
We were in
somewhere between that, I found out that mommy had died,
mhm.
and I went home and said my farewells to mom.
Yeah, June was pretty intense.
It was
Um, it was very intense because there was a lot of things kind of happening at once. You I think we found out about grandma either right before the American Heart Walk or right after.
it okay, I'm mixing it because the year before, we found out that Pat died,
Yeah.
somewhere. No, we didn't, because
M
she died
She
Mother's
died on Mother's Day, but we did which was still really close,
Yeah,
but we honored her at the Heart Walk that was the next month.
yeah.
Um, but yeah, we did that, and then you did go off, so maybe it was after because I remember the conversation was everybody, the family, because you come from such a big family. I don't know how you do it. I say that every single time. I I don't know how any of you or the siblings do it. 'Cause I got one brother, and let me tell you, that is enough. I'm good. I love him to death, but I couldn't imagine having to deal with 5 other different personalities to get things planned.
Yeah,
And so
takes
I
a village.
remember
Takes a
yeah,
big family. Blake's strong.
Blake Strong. But I remember that then it was trying to get everything on the schedule for everything for the funeral, and there was a lot to get arranged. Um But yeah, and then we went to St. Thomas and that had its own challenges because at that point you were immunocompromised and the we had to be careful about the funeral and how many people you that was interacted with because all of that mattered. Like those were things that I know that I was very like cautious of. I remember, after we had the conversation with the doctor about chemo and she gave us all the things, I made an Amazon list. I'm like, these are all the things you need to buy. You need to buy wipes for the homes. You need to have wipes to go. You need to have mask in the house. You need to have mask at home. We need to get you all kinds of hand sanitizers. You have to have your own tissue just in case. Like there was a whole list. And I even remember Jessica being like, okay, I need you to calm down a little. I was like, nope, the whole list has to be done. because, when you go through chemo, you are immunocompromised, and you have to be really careful about what environments you put yourself in.
Your white blood cells are pretty tricky for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, I didn't have, a normal actually, I still don't have a normal I shouldn't say that because if Melanie finds out I said that, then I'll be in trouble. But it's pretty close to normal,
Yes.
my white blood cell.
Um, what would and I wanna do, like, high, low, but start for low. What would you say was the hardest thing about your diagnosis and going through chemo?
Hardest thing I think of, and this comes to do from the physical perspective,
Mhm,
um, the hardest thing was that journey that I had there in regards to, when I had to go to the hospital
mhm,
and, um, the alignment, your spiritual alignment. Because, for me, it's something that's happening within the context of my body, you know?
mhm,
So it's I'm not defined by the fact that, I can say, "Hey, my name is Anicia, stage 4," but that doesn't define who I am. It is
mhm,
just something that I am experiencing and going through. And so the hardest thing is to when you get to that part where you are living in that great spiritual alignment realm and you can, when you get to feel the human side of it, when you're like, yeah, 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 and I was laying there at that time and, my heart rate was just really high and I was just laying and going, yeah, this is an experience for me. And then pushing through that month of June
mhm,
was pretty difficult. Um, getting through everything and trying to remain in alignment with how I wanted to mentally feel was
mhm.
hard because I just didn't feel good.
Yeah.
I yeah, I just didn't feel good. I think that was the hardest. I had surgeries afterwards and a double mastectomy. And, there was that pain and all of that kinds of stuff, but it was just that month gap where, sitting within that spot, I just didn't feel well.
Mhm,
But I know that, the Tori Kelly song, you know, "Something is coming in the morning," that's what I keep holding into is something is coming in the morning. I'm okay with outcomes. I'm okay with the life and death type of outcomes, I have to say. Overall, but at that moment, I definitely felt my humanity.
that has to be really scary, I think.
Yeah.
I mean, like you said, yes, the good thing is that that period ended,
Mhm.
um,
'Cause I
and
know what's on the other side.
and we made it to the other side, and the other side was the miraculous, results that we got back after
Oh,
you
yeah.
finished
Yeah.
chemo, because it
Yeah,
was
that was
truly
amazing.
yeah.
Yeah, within the numbers and the complete shift of the size of the tumors that they had found to where there was no evidence in the lymph nodes and, that kinda came out in the fact of the liver, where they basically just did a zap as opposed to the major surgery, which is
Mhm,
something that or even, when just having the opportunity to have surgery, because that was one of those things that I had to move to, um,
mhm.
within the initial diagnosis. Yeah, it was the process and the flow and just keep going.
It was something that was like, surgery was something that we had immediately went to, "That's what's gonna happen." And then when chemo happened, we're like, "Okay," and I think one of the questions was like, "So when can I do the surgery?" And
Yeah,
the
yeah.
answer was, we have to see how your body responds to chemo." So chemo was like our big hurdle, And then once you got past that and the numbers came back and everything looked amazing, and I think you might have shocked the doctor herself a little bit.
Well, they were very impressed with the outcome and how significant,
Mhm.
my tumors had shrunk. I mean, there were 3 I think that they had seen, something in the lymph nodes and few in the liver, and, when they start seeing what those results even after the first 16 weeks, um, they use the word miracle, so I'm gonna take it. I know
I
I'm a
mean,
miracle. I'm gonna
I
take
I
it.
would take it.
I'm gonna take it.
I would definitely take it, because then we were able to schedule the surgeries, and you had your liver surgery first, and then what was it, a couple months later you had or a month later?
September was the liver,
Mhm.
and
November was
yeah,
the
because it was because I remember Carol bringing pumpkin pie.
yeah, I remember because it
So
was I got into the, car accident when I hit the deer in October, and I got my new car in November, and it was on a Saturday, and I remember because I think you had surgery either that Thursday. I think it was that Thursday, Wednesday or Thursday. And then I was at your house waiting, but I didn't get to see you, and then I had to go to therapy, and then as soon as I got my car, you were, like, the first person that I drove to, my new Jeep, and I remember that was in November, so
so then it was before. I mean, I know that I had the liver right the week before my birthday.
yeah.
So, and Julian, came in for that one.
Mhm.
I know you were going through some tough times yourself. So
Yeah, I think that for me, I don't really I was just actually journaling about this today, thinking about some of the conversations that you and I have had, and I was thinking about how just conflict in general is really hard with me in my relationships and friendships because of everything that's happened with Jessica, and I think that I'm a kinda push it down, keep moving person, and then it starts to bubble in places, and I think that, which is hard because I felt so acute, like, I didn't go to drill sometimes, literally I felt like I gave up on so many things when I found out about your diagnosis. I truly think that it 100% changed your life, but I also kinda think that it changed my life and my outlook on things, and how I wanted to live life, but I was still processing it when grandma passed away. And I was still processing the loss of other things that you know about at that same time, and I had left my job, and there was a lot going on, and then there was kind of, like, a period where I felt better because I had gotten into that situation with, that person, um, and then when that ended, and it ended so abruptly, It was it was almost as if, like, that person was a stopgap for everything that I was kind of feeling and dealing with, and then when that ended, everything just kinda flooded in, and it took me a really long time to kinda get into a place where I could just function as a human being because people who are listening probably don't know, I am a person that when things get really, really hard, I just disappear. Like, that's the best way for me to deal with it, and even now, like, I was laying on this nice little couch in this Airbnb, and I was thinking, like, wouldn't it be so nice if I could just not talk to people for a couple of days? And I have to fight that all the time because that's my defense mechanism, and that's my coping mechanism, and sometimes it's helpful and sometimes it's not. But yeah, I had a harder time, I think, in the end. And I think in the end is when things started taking the turn it took for me in my life. But I think also that it was, when I found out, it was me just being like, "All right, this is what we gotta do. This is what we're working on," and then I would stay home and be really upset about it, but we're gonna do it, and we're gonna make it, and I think getting past the point of, like, "Oh, chemo was done," which should have been, like, a relief for me, was the moment that everything was really setting in, because I didn't have anything else to do, and I think it started to set in closer to the end of the chemo, and because things in my life were like I had to get a new job and all of those things, but I think that for me, the moment where you probably felt like you could breathe was the moment where everything was like, "Oh my gosh." I think that I was probably preparing for the worst, and even though I'm so grateful that it got better and that was not the case at all, I still think that there were a lot of things that I had to work through on my end.
Yeah. It's hard for sure. I have to say, because your question was, "What's the hardest thing?" And
Mhm,
it's hard because to me, what's the hardest thing right now is that my heart is aching for my kids.
mhm,
You and Julian are going through some tough times, and I could breathe through my cancer, but I'm holding my breath right now
mhm.
because this is not what I want for both of you. Um, and so this is my tough time.
Yeah, it has been. We were joking earlier about, we were like, 2024 was the worst. Let's get out of it. 2025 said, "Ha ha, y'all are silly. Let me show you what actually is the absolute worst."
Facing fear on and still having to believe that you can get through that next day or find that next day is it can be difficult. There is a lot of things that you deal with, from a mental perspective. I mean, there's chemical things going on with serotonin, your amygdala. I mean, all of those things are playing into it, and you've got to acknowledge that in this human experience, things aren't always easy, for
Yeah,
sure. That's when you need your lift. That's when you need your village. That's when you need the psychologist. That's when you need, whoever is there for you. You have to kind of remember to breathe, and
mhm.
that's the big thing for me now is I have to remember to breathe.
Faith is faith is really hard sometimes. It's because faith is believing in something when you have no evidence, you know, that it's real or it's true or it's there. And I think that faith is harder sometimes when you have no control of it. And faith becomes harder and harder when things get worse and worse, because you keep having that faith that, like, "Oh, okay, I'll make it out of this," or, "Oh, all right, that sucked, but things are gonna get better." And then you just keep saying that to yourself. And I would say that our family has definitely been in a significant tower moment, like the tarot card, the tower.
Mm,
And I always try to remind myself when I'm sane enough and, like, cognizant enough and not in a anxious spiral or depressive spiral, that the tower card feels like hell. Nobody wants to get the card. But what comes after it is the end of your journey.
mhm,
So you get, the tower card and get the star card, and the star card is like, okay, things are, you're getting a little bit of lights, things are starting to be clear, it's clarity. And then you get the moon, and the moon is a little bit darker, because even though you've gotten clarity, you still have to face all of these things that have happened to you, and you still have to check in with your body and your mind and your spirit. And then you get the sun, where we're truly getting bright. But in any of those periods before you get to the sun, it still feels like you're in a tower moment, and things may still be, falling apart. But the point is that it's falling apart because whatever foundation that you built is not going to be the foundation that's going to get you to your next goal.
that is true. It is true. And you know, in this tower moment that we're in
Mhm.
wanting to be there for you, wanting to be there for Julian, and the conflict, of course, is specifically Julian going through this crisis. And the acknowledgement. This is the part where, I'm waking up and staying to work for Benadryl. And the acknowledgement of the cancer that I have is more evident here because I have to make decisions like I can't be in LA because I have to come back for treatment.
Mhm.
And then those are the hard parts is that, I can be certain parts, but, my treatments continue.
Right.
Um, Even though, of course, there's a miracle, but now you're in that maintenance mode, and I have to continue. I call it my chemical prayer. I have to continue with my chemical prayer, but it's hard because, you do the typical, you have to take care of yourself also while others are in a crisis. And as a parent, um, it's hard. It's hard to acknowledge that you have to consider yourself too, and it's just hard. I mean, I wanna be there for you. I wanna be there for Julian, and I definitely don't have all the right answers, but I gotta remember to be there for me too.
Right, because if you're not there and for those who don't know, you're still doing, immunotherapy. Um, and you also had radiation after surgery just to kinda, like, bring it all in and get you into the best place possible, but you are still doing immunotherapy, you do still have checkups, you do still have appointments. Like you said earlier, you are still, slightly immunocompromised. Your body
Mhm,
is still does take longer to heal and to recover from any and everything, and you do have to make those decisions, like, if I wanna be here long term, that might mean that this short term thing I might have to miss so that I can make sure that the next big thing
mhm.
I'm here to help you out with, and that is hard, and you did make sacrifices specifically in, the Julian case where you moved all, your appointments to make sure that you got him through his big hurdle. And then, you didn't reschedule your things until you knew that you could leave and somebody was coming on the back end to take care of him. And you're getting ready to go back and do it again. And I get to it's be lucky and sit in an Airbnb with 2 dogs.
Yeah, the challenge of being a parent still is, you've got these crises, but, you know, um, I still think about you
Mhm.
and, how does this impact you? The same way we talked about this before with the cancers, like, how are you feeling? We are warriors in this journey, maybe not just for cancer, but there's very other dis-ease, within our universe we have to be that we are immunocompromised by, and we all need to go take our regularly scheduled, immunotherapies potentially to keep us strong. And for many people, that's prayer. For many people, it is breath work, and whatever it is, it's remembering to do that. I think that's critical because I said before, I need to remind myself I need to breathe now.
Mhm.
Because before I could be like, "Oh, okay, I'm breathing." But now, even with the water, I've got to remind myself now to to do what has been important.
Yeah. 'Cause once you get past the kind of initial hurdle, you're like, "Oh, okay, I'm good," but your body is still healing and will be healing for quite some time from everything that went on. Chemo is not easy on the body.
No, no, no. I mean, there's like these little weird things that happen, like I can't feel my hands, or there's these little shooting pains that you're like, huh, where'd that come from? That that our experience, and as we wrap up this month of October where we are acknowledging that this particular disease, and it just seems, the more the more you know who has one.
Mhm.
Yeah, I don't know how it ends per se from the disease, but I can only think that I could feel that it doesn't end with the diagnosis and it doesn't end at all. Um, because as the doctor says, you've got a choice to live. And whether it's for the 6 months or for as long as I have, trying to live and feel as best as you can within it, um, is a better mindset than just accepting the fact that you have a terminal disease.
Mhm. And that's a hard thing to come to terms with. We talked about some of the lows. What are some of the highs? What are some of the things that you think that this journey has helped you or given you?
Well, the first high was that amazing high of the iron. I'm like, woo. For me, I am a giver,
Mhm.
for sure. It's something that I enjoy doing, a philanthropist. What has been a high for me is allowing myself, and I say that, humbly, to receive.
Mhm.
Within this year and even with the last year, there are people that want to give too, and um, graciously receiving has been a
Mhm.
high for me to know that there are people who care and that are willing to help you and are just truly willing to love. Um, it's such a great thing to say for humanity.
Mhm.
Um, the amount of people who I know are praying for me. I know who are praying for you. I know who are praying for Julian and my family is tremendous. And that's the miracle. Um, is that these situations, don't have to be depressing or sad, on a regular basis, understanding that once again that there is that quality that you have to consider, but it is that miracle that we as a connected community are caring for each other, and that's a joy.
Mhm.
And that's a high. That's a high. I mean, natural highs, of course, is not feeling sick like I did before. So the other highs, were there. Seeing you um, laugh. Highs is seeing you, and the pictures. I take a look at the pictures of all the outfits that we had.
Mhm.
Um, the when you and Julian and I came together and we were in, chemo together, those are my highs. I had a lot of
Yeah.
highs.
I think that for me, being able to see just how many people showed up and supported was something that I'll always look at as a high. And even like all of the organizations, because I feel like there are a lot of organizations, a lot of people know the Susan, what is it?
Jake Coleman, the
Yeah.
60 day. Mhm.
A lot of people know kind of Susan E. Komen as the big, breast cancer thing, but a lot of
Uh,
people don't know about all of these amazing other organizations that donate and support and help. I think you've gotten a lot of cool things from a lot of different places and groups of people that are really cool. Your Barbie doll, are you looking them up?
no,
You're responding to stuff?
no. What I was responding to is like, I lost the speaker. I was like, what is she even saying? It's like, where'd the speaker go?
What's happening? I was saying that I liked all the people that showed up for you, but I also liked the other organizations that were outside of the big organizations everybody know that did all the little things and sent you gifts and all the cool things. And I mentioned the Barbie doll.
Ah, yeah. This is the Barbie doll. It's a Barbie doll right there.
Yeah.
I the blessing that comes from that is because I know of these organizations as well. I have been blessed to give back,
Mhm.
and share. hold a hand or support or answer a question because there are questions. We're glossing through lots of
Lots
specific
of big
questions
things.
of things. But there are questions, there are diagnoses, there's decisions to be made through it all, and um, really hard to unless you're going through it. There is a person that I follow
Mhm.
um, on YouTube. She's not from here, and I follow her. I follow her to because she was a surgeon and now she has the diagnosis.
Mhm.
And she says it's different. Being a surgeon and saying, this is what happens. And I was like, so how do you know? When those nurses stick you with the needle and they go, owie, owie. I'm like, how do you know? I was like,
You Oh my god, you used to say that all the time. You used to say, like, "It frustrates me when they're like, 'It's just gonna hurt a little.'" It's like, how do you know it's just gonna hurt a little? But yeah, I think that there's always when we were talking about faith, like, sometimes faith needs a push, and sometimes a push comes from listening to other people's stories. I know that you spend a lot of time sharing your stories and, listening to other people's stories as well. Um Sometimes, faith you have to hold on to something. That's one of the, like, psychological pillars of life, and there's so many, and one of them is faith or spirituality. And you could believe in not believing, but you still believe in something, and that belief in something can help you have a better life and get through things. And I think that sometimes the push can be other people, seeing how other people are getting through it or the questions that they may answer makes you feel, one, probably not alone,
hmm
but two, like, okay, I can really do this because when you get the diagnosis, it's there's no like succinct word to say it. It does not feel good.
no, no, it's pretty scary for sure.
Yeah. I think I described it in my book on, like, my end as, like, there's this darkness, and it's funny because you've I don't even know if you've read the part of that book, but it was, like, one of the first parts, and she talks about how when she hears her mom and the diagnosis, she stops hearing everything, and, like, how you're talking about, she was like, "Blah, blah, blah, and wah, 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 wah." Like, you really do stop hearing everything sometimes because your brain can only process so much.
Yeah. Guess what?
Hmm.
Salima's on her way now.
That is her nice way of saying, "We have to wrap this up," because Salima's on her way, is her friend who lives, like, 5 minutes away from her.
We're gonna
You ever
exercise.
You're gonna walk?
Absolutely. I haven't walked in a minute. I gotta.
Get back into it?
Yeah, I can't slow it down. I think that, just like they said with the fatigue or whatever, one of the most important things, if you're feeling fatigue is to move. That's
Mhm.
counterproductive, but
It's like, even if you do, like, gentle moving, stretching or something, and then let your body kinda go back into it, you just have to move a little bit. I mean, it's a beautiful day for a walk.
it looks pretty. I'm looking at outside. Um,
Yeah. I
looks
have
pretty
a
cool.
nice view of water. You would actually really love the view because 'cause I'm
I could
looking at,
take you
like, a
with
little
me. Do you want
pond.
me to take you with me on the walk?
Probably going to partake in some grape juice
Okay.
and some tea. I'm also gonna make a hummus charcuterie board, which is gonna be fun for me. But we are gonna wrap up here. Is there anything else that you wanna say before we get ready to get out of here?
Oh, you think I should say something profound?
I don't think you have to say, you could say, "Hey, hey, 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 smoke weed every day," and I think that
That would
I'm
be
sorry.
nothing I would ever.
I was watching Keeping Up with the Kardashians, and Snoop Dogg
Is that
performed
what
at,
they
like,
said?
nope, Snoop Dogg performed at, Khloe Kardashian's birthday party, and that was the song, and so it's stuck in my head, but no, I don't think you have to say anything profound. I think you could just say, "Thank you for listening.
Uh, Thank you for your time, Tiffany. I appreciate that.
Thank you for doing this," because I know at first I approached you like, "Hey, do you know someone?" You're just like, "I don't know how people will feel about it." And then you're like, "Okay, I'll do it." And I was like, "Yes." Honestly, I really wanted to ask you in the first place, but I know that you like to keep things a little bit more private, and I didn't want you to feel pressured into saying anything you didn't wanna say, so
Um, huh. It was pretty light. Keep the faith for sure.
mhm.
There is definitely the challenges. Feel them, go through them, and then rejoice when you come out on the other side.
And I think that you definitely made it on the other side. There are some things that you started along your journey that you're getting ready to finish, like ministerial school.
Mhm. Yep.
We got your lady lounge.
Yeah, sure do.
There are a
And
lot of things that went along this journey with you.
I'm gonna keep going.
Yes. All right. Well, thank you. We're going to end it there. Thank you all for listening to this bonus episode, and we will see you guys next time. Bye.
Bye.